Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. For some, it may be late in the evening, so good evening to you. I'm Piyush. I'm part of QualityKiosk, and I lead the partnership function at QK. And first of all, let me extend a warm thank you to everyone who has joined this webinar. I think we are gathered here to discuss a very exciting topic, right? And topic which is pertinent to what's happening around us. What I see on this webinar guest list as of now, I see I can just take a call that we have leaders, we have people in top execution roles who have joined us, and we have also been speaking to, right, some of them in past, and how AI is touching us, right? And when we say us, it means how is AI touching the large enterprise, particularly the software, data, and the enterprise world around the quality assurance and the testing of this part in the enterprise operations, right? And to discuss it, right, we have few of the best brains, two of the best brains that could have been possible. We have got their time. So we have Shiladitya on this webinar joining us. So Shiladitya is SVP and he at QualityKiosk, and he leads a large transformation and delivery functions, right? Shiladitya runs multiple COEs within QualityKiosk. And if I have just to take an approx guess, he would be consulting at least 15 different clients, enterprise clients per week, just on their transformation journey. So we have Shila, and we'll listen to Shila and his thoughts around this topic. We're equally excited to have Gokul Sridharan joining us for this webinar. Gokul is a VP and Global Solution Engineering Leader at Katalon, possibly one of the best brains out in the industry to discuss and know on DevOps. Again, Katalon would have at least 2,000 plus customers right now, enterprise customers in the globe. And it's just an approx guess that most of those enterprise customers would have crossed the lenses or a consultation session with Gokul, right? So we have a excellent panel today to discuss this topic, right? I'll just get started, right? Why we grouped and thought of this topic, right? Quality in the AI era. And we intentionally felt that, hey, while all of us are aware that AI is going to replace a portion of our task or possibly augment a part of our task or possibly assist us in part of our deliverables, the remaining half is being extended by AI agents, right, that we are deploying. And there comes a scenario and there comes an industry ask that how is agents going to be tested, right? How their behavior is going to be, organized. I mean, how we will test those scenarios when it's an autonomous agent operations, right? So the future state that enterprise leaders are asking us, or asking leaders like Shila and Gokul, is that give us a target operation model, or maybe guide us to a way where both human and AI agent behaving in their own way is going to impact the software development lifecycle, right? And today we are here to understand this better, right? So maybe what I'll do is I'll hand over to Shila first and understand from Shila that what has he been demanded from some of the enterprise customers? What are the trends that he's looking at? How is QualityKiosk preparing to address that? So with that, maybe Shila, if we can hear you out on those topics.
So really, thanks, Piyush. Thanks for having all of us out here. And I'm really excited to share at least what I see as in QualityKiosk, different customers and different large enterprises as well as medium. They are looking forward to it. Now, one of the things that I really look into it, and one of the things that I see, especially in terms of AI in the recent past, when I say recent past, maybe in the last 6 months or so, is that there's been a considerable shift in terms of AI being a novelty to AI being one of the ways of doing business. Is basically what we call is, instead of being a curiosity to something which is driving real value nowadays. And that's a very interesting or a sudden shift, I would say, that we have seen. About a year back, we used to see customers and different organizations are trying, experimenting with AI, see if we can do some work there, see, trying to do certain kind of POCs, certain kind of explorations, just to see where does it really fits in. Now it's really moving into more of the business impact. What kind of a business impact do I get out of AI? Because the era of curiosity, the era of POCs, and the era of experimentation is kind of stabilized here. Now there are the niches that has been found, and real business impacts are being driven to talk about here. And that's something I think Gokul will also kind of echo here, because this is a common industry trend that we have been observing, be it in any of the geographies. Certain organizations have been on the leaders quadrants, they have moved way to it, they are getting the business benefits realized through AI. Some of them have started the journey, but now it's very focused that, okay, I want to leverage AI, and this is my use case. How can I be more efficient? How can I drive velocity? How can I be more cost optimized? So those are the kind of things that organizations have started looking in the recent past, and that's a very interesting trend and interesting shift that we see, because it has to be anything that's novel in from a technology point of view. It has to be backed by real business outcomes. Gokul, maybe you want to
Yeah.
share your thoughts, what you've seen.
Yeah, Shira, very interesting point that you bring up, right? I think I see a lot of customers and industries moving towards early adoption of AI, and some have gone pretty further along the cycle, and some are still exploring. To your point, but the critical point to think about is the domain experience. Uh, I think a lot of our customers that we talk to belong to certain verticals like banking or finance or insurance, healthcare, so be it, right? Like you have tons of experience that you've built over a period of time, which is irreplaceable. I think that domain knowledge is core. Now you're taking that domain knowledge, mapping it with the technology advancement that's happening in the world, the level of potential that has for technology growth and making things easier overall is just insane. Like, I mean, the crazy productivity that we are seeing with customers. So definitely something that that's important to highlight. So thank you, Sheila, for highlighting that.
Yep. And also you rightly pointed out, because at the end of the day, it's all depends in terms of what kind of a subdomain expertise that you can inject into your AI models to get the real benefits out of it. And that's something we kind of try to focus on, because otherwise it's a probability model. And how do you augment the probability model with the right data sets? The other thing that what I also see is a couple of things that we are really seeing now with AI becoming a very critical component in the entire ecosystems. A lot of customers who started their journey, let's say about a year back, now have matured and now started seeing the benefits out of it. How do you make sure that the AI model, because any AI model in what used to happen, let's say in the traditional software industry, I would say it's all rule based. It's pretty much defined. Like if you have starting point A, you will go to Z, and there is only one way of ABCD to go to Z. It's a pretty rule based. That's not the case in AI. It's you can go through multiple ways. So how do you make sure that your AI model, the entire capability of AI and the LLMs is reliable? And it's not reliable on day one. Now, if you launch a software which follows a certain flow, you're pretty confident that it will follow that until unless there is a crash or there's something there. But the moment it is up, it will go through it. Not the case with AI. How do you make sure that it's reliable every day? Day by day, it is doing exactly what it's supposed to do and not getting drifted by so many comments and so many prompts that are keeping on bombarding the model through it. So how do you keep the reliability of AI is something that we are looking at it. The other area that we are looking at it, which is very interesting, and I think I was discussing with a couple of my colleagues here a few days back, is earlier it was the discussion was about quality. It was like, what's the quality of it? Now in today's days, quality is given, it's hygiene. It's all about what's the reliability of these applications. Now, when we talk of reliability is like the way I look at it is like the superset of quality. Quality, you can be having a day zero quality, day one quality, but the reliability is how long you can sustain that quality and how do you kind of constantly push that entire quality ecosystems back to make sure your software is reliable, your software is scalable, your software behaves the way the actual customers are using. And that's an element which also AI is playing a big part into it. Earlier, what used to happen, we used to have those data, we used to have those insights, but due to the lack of ability to comprehend those informations to a meaningful outcome, we were not able to kind of get those informations and have an actionable things to build reliability. Now, this is where I see a platform which can read what is happening by what's being done by the real users in production, funnel it back into something on my next iterations seamlessly. That is where the entire games play. Because if I am exactly know how my customers are using it and start doing it right at the very start of my funnel, so my next dot release which is going to happen, I've already factored in what the customer is using. It doesn't depend on some, let's say, a developer or a quality engineer to predict or assume how the customers are going to do it. Because no matter how good you are, your assumptions are going to take you so far. And that's something that's really, this platform really does it. And maybe Gokul, you can add to it because I know you're in this sweet spot. So you can kind of share your views in terms of how do you see matching the shift right with the shift left. That's what we talk about. Sure. All right. So that's an interesting part, which I believe we'll be definitely talking as we move along. The other use cases that I also see is a lot of with all the 5Gs and the ubiquitous rollout of 5G across, I would say, all the countries in the globe nowadays. The IoTs or the distributed computing that has really played a big part. And that's where also a lot of capabilities in terms of AI as well as traditional things are also moving. How can I basically move into those kind of ecosystems? How can I ensure the quality of those applications which have been injected into a car, into your motorbike, into your any of those devices? Those are working because it's not that I'm connected to a server and I can fix if there's something that goes wrong in a car. Of course, I can basically do an airdrop and fix some of those things, but quality out here is little more than that as well. And that is also something that I saw it. So that's an amazing element. And I said that's also the place where what is happening on the right, the customers are using, how they're using, in what environment they're using, and funneling it back to what I'm doing to make sure that my next dot release takes all those considerations is something that really plays a part out here. Uh, if maybe Piyush or Gokul, you want to add on these things because this is really, really interesting too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry, I just there's two interesting points that you brought up, Sheila. The one is essentially around uh, the human in the loop, moving away from the doer to the reviewer, is essentially what we are seeing as a trend, right? Because the technology gap has been bridged so much that you don't need to do hard work anymore. The code is being created for you. So if you think about the evolution of testing, we started off in manual testing, doing everything manually, going through and clicking buttons, and even now people are still doing that. And then the evolution into automation, which then you're starting to write some scripts, do some automation, things of that nature, right? But even until last year, automation was like the hyped up thing, and it's been for the last 15-20 years now. But I think what it's started to translate into is now, instead of me focusing on writing those automation scripts, how can I get AI to do the automation scripts for me and generate that pretty quickly, so I'm able to go review what the AI has done versus having to do a lot of things on my own, right? I think that evolution has happened pretty quickly in the last 6 months to a year. And I'm sure, QK and Catalan together, we've evolved as well, and tried to, come up with latest and greatest. And the other interesting fact is, it's also going to play in the world of smart devices and IoT and things of that nature.
Absolutely. It's about moving humans' value higher up in the scale, right? Right, doing the routine, repeatable BAU work. How do you kind of put yourself in a higher pedestal is what's all it's all about. So these are I would say there are many more trends, but these are the 5 macro trends that I observe when we speak with multiple thought leaders and the industry trends out here. I'm pretty sure in the next 6 months there might be a couple of things more, and that's what keeps us on the toes and keeps the things much more interesting. So maybe
Yeah.
maybe Gokul, you
One
might
one other thing that you brought up, Sheila, that was interesting earlier was the LLM testing. I was talking to a healthcare customer pretty recently. One of the use cases that they brought up was, hey, I have a chat that's going on where the AI responds to the chat. How do I know if the AI is responding with the correct policy or, the correct information that's related to the specific patient? Uh, it's, I mean, if you think about it, it can have major implications from a compliance perspective, from patients' health. And you can impact real lives in the most positive manner, or it could go southwards pretty quickly. So testing has become really all the more important with an evolution of these technologies that's happening.
absolutely. And I just want to kind of add one example that or something that I'd seen a couple of weeks back, I would say. They're again a chatbot for a particular bank, and it's a WhatsApp banking kind of a thing. Uh, the problem is that people will ask the same questions, but they can ask in different ways. And they will use lot of different, let's say if I want to check how much money do I have in my bank account, another customer is asking how much bread do I have. Now,
Yeah.
that's also the same thing. Now,
Yeah.
and that's also an input for the element to drift itself as a part of its prompt. Now, how do you
Yeah.
make sure that it doesn't drift? It doesn't become as a bakery after a point of time. So these shifts and these drifts has to be kind of curtailed while it serves its purpose. So that's an interesting area that we see.
Yeah, pretty interesting point, right? Because when you think about it, the number of input parameters and the output parameters are going to be insanely higher in comparison to what it is today or what was 6 months ago. I think that's going to change the way the responses happen.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah. Just shifting gears a little bit. I think what we can do is, talk about how that evolution of technology that Sheila covered in the initial phase is actually translating into technology, and how QK and Katalon are working together to make an impact. So we'll talk through that here in the next few minutes. Talk about what's changing in the industry, how we thought about TrueTest as a platform, and how it's going to change the way businesses are doing testing going forward.
Awesome. Thanks. Gokul, just maybe a suggestion for all our audience. I mean, we've kept the Q&A sessions open, right? So people can actually drop in their questions. Comments are on, so you can actually drop in your comments as well, right? But thanks, Sheila. Gokul, over to you. And I think the audience will be really excited to know how these discontinuities or, the 5 levers that possibly Sheila is trying to highlight, it gets imbibed into what TrueTest is evolving, right? And how Katalon is addressing this demand in the market. So maybe over to you, Gokul.
Yeah, I um, I think we can talk through what is changing and what's coming. maybe go through the next few slides here. Thank you. The ways companies have started developing software has changed. I'm sure you've all heard about vibe coding. I personally go and download Replit or Lovable or Cursor, and just multiple um, platforms that you can go build your own software without having to know how to code, which is insanely powerful, at the same time very scary. Because now what happens is you get this volume of code that never existed before, because people are spending 20 minutes to generate 2,000 lines of code. I could personally go build an app within 30 minutes. And now, if you'd ask, is it going to work completely? Is it going to be properly tested? Is it worked on every scenario? Probably not. And I haven't tested it for every known scenario, like we talked about earlier. But this is going to change the way we operate, right? If you look at several of these companies are going to have more and more software that's being developed and controlled using AI. Going into the next slide, so with that, all the AI generated code, the traditional testing no longer works. You have to adopt to new ways of testing and understanding how users are using your platform in order to test your platform better. Think about traditional automation where, as testing managers, we have, the test coverage metrics as a key metric to compare against. But that's thrown out of the way because, the people could test your application in multiple different ways. They could go use things that you are thinking that you may not be using, but essentially users are going through different parts of your application that you may not even imagine, right? And I think that's where the domain experience comes into play a lot. We'll talk about that a little bit, but definitely exposes your risk to your business. If you don't understand your users, how they're using your application, what they're using your applications for, what domain, like things of that nature. If you don't understand that, it can cause several of these factors, including regulatory fines and legal consequences to your businesses. And that's one of the core reasons why we thought about how can we imbibe AI in every stage of our overall testing life cycle. And if you go to the next slide and talk through that a little bit. Again, there's like three critical challenges that we have, right? When slow releases, poor quality, high cost of delivery, those are all things that are going to continue to exist even in the AI world. However, just the impact at every stage, and Sheila, feel free to talk through your experience as a part of your interactions with customers as well. But definitely, I see a lot of this going to continue to evolve over a period of time, and customers are going to expect more and more ROI when new AI technologies are being introduced to the field.
Yeah.
Sheila,
It's like I think entire people in the audience, they will all agree with me that the ask is how can it be faster, cheaper, and better. It sounds like it sounds like an euphoria, or it sounds like an dream, but that's something that is the goal, and that's the direction that we are all moving towards it. And I would say that there is a progress that is happening on all the three fronts. Are we there in the kind of the promised land? Maybe not, but can we see the promised land? I would say pretty much.
right.
Yeah.
So the way we are preparing our customers for the AI augmented world with all of this new level of coding and AI generated scripting coming in, is we want to talk about testing in the realm of AI. If you think about it, the traditional testing approach, you have all the way from reviewing requirements to going and creating and running tests. And then you create your automation test suite, run it, see the results, and maintain those tests. Every single part of this stage within this entire life cycle now involves AI. You have to reimagine that with AI, right? With Katalon and QK in the background helping with their expertise, what we are building is something truly futuristic from a holistic platform standpoint. The way we are thinking about it is, how do I get requirements from my subject matter experts within the organization, convert that to manual tests in human readable format, all with the help of AI, and schedule some of these tests, convert those manual tests into automation tests, review the results, imbibe AI in every single stage of that entire life cycle, is what we are thinking about. And then also understanding the end user experience, which is very critical. I mean, just think about your incremental changes that are happening to your application every single day. You going and observing what those changes are and how that changes actually translate into business implications is humanly impossible to do that. What if an AI could actually understand your end user experience and convert that into real tests that can be run within your application? And that's where we started thinking about kind of building TrueTest into this overall platform. A lot of what you're seeing in this screen, all the way from creating AI-based requirements and reviewing results with the help of AI, and then running in automation tests, things of that nature are already part of the Katalon platform. Some of this is being developed as we speak, but definitely there's so many ideas that get popped in by customers every single day, and we are continuously evolving as well. With that, I will shift a little bit towards TrueTest. And I wanted to give you a little bit of a highlight of why we created TrueTest. There is a lot of guesswork that happens when we think, hey, here's how my users are going to use my application. Based on my domain expertise, based on my subject matter expertise, here's how I believe that my end users would actually use my application. But we thought about it from a shift right perspective, is how do I understand the end user experience, map it to a scenario where you're able to show it in a flow or a user journey map, kind of similar to like the monitoring concept. If you think about it, there's a whole industry around app experience monitoring or application performance monitoring that exists in the market already. But a lot of those technologies are leveraged from a holistic performance of the application versus testing implication of it. So Katalon, where we thought about it is, how do I capture that end user experience, whether it may be a banking application or a financial or healthcare application? How do I understand that end user experience, go through that user journey, and capture that as part of a flow, and help generate and accelerate your automation? I call this concept hyper automation, right? How do I get from 0 to 80 very quickly without human intervention? There'll still be a little bit of, modification, tweaking, making sure the scripts are reliable. Now you're moving on from being an automation engineer to being a script reliability engineer and ensuring that your scripts actually work versus thinking about what your users are doing. And if you're able to capture majority of what your users are doing, all you have to worry about is edge cases, you know, a few assertions and things of that nature, versus worrying too much about what are the business implications. You're capturing all of the business implications up front, which is what TrueTest really does, right? It helps you accelerate automation from manual testing pretty quickly, from 0 to 80 pretty quickly. Again, I see a lot of customers, especially I want to highlight one. I was talking to an insurance tech customer, and this is an insurance software company that sells insurance software to their customers. They ran a POC with TrueTest. They were able to save, um, right out the bat, about 80% of effort just by using the TrueTest and running it on pre-production. So what they did is, instead of using it as a production use case and trying to capture end user experience from a production monitoring perspective, they used it as a pre-prod and basically gathered a lot of their subject matter experts within their organization, and captured a lot of their insights. So they were able to get a full test bed and a test map that was associated with it. It's essentially saved about 80% of effort. The second and third use cases are, maintenance. As you release further and further, you create new versions of your application. It's important that you cover maintenance, right? One of the core questions that every automation engineer asks me is, how do you ensure these tests that get created with TrueTest can actually be maintained? The reality is, TrueTest will auto maintain it based on the new changes that have happened to the application. Even if you made some modifications, it will still capture that as part of the changes. But I wanted to cover some 3 or 4 use cases that we see with customers. Automating manual testing with AI. I think it's pretty easy thinking about it. We'll be observing the end user traffic. We'll be able to as an example, if I were to put this TrueTest in Amazon.com's production instance, I'd be able to capture a checkout flow, a search flow, going and finding the right product, maybe going to the help page, asking for a refund, things of that nature, right? I'll be able to capture a lot of that workflow, convert that into manual test with zero effort, and then take that manual test and convert that into an automation test with very minimal effort. That's the powerful story that we are trying to convey here with TrueTest, and we see a lot of our customers see that as well. And then the question that you may all have is, okay, what about PII data? How do I ensure that PII data is not captured? With TrueTest, we do not capture PII upfront. All we do is capture user interactions, because I know a lot of you are from banking or healthcare, financial industries, and you care about data a lot. And we care about it as well, right? We want to ensure that we don't capture a lot of the sensitive information that would be really important for you guys. So what we do is mask all of the sensitive information at source. We don't capture any of that information. All we capture is this a username field? Is it a password field? Is it a, what kind of a field is it? And then we would synthetically help you generate data for that specific set of tests that we create based on a TrueTest. So that the third interesting thing is, you may all have been different frameworks. You may be using Selenium or Playwright or Cypress or multiple other frameworks like Tosca, or could be many other frameworks. You may have a necessity to move out. Maybe it's not working out for you from a longer term standpoint. or migration is one of our key use cases as well. Now, a lot of what you were doing 10 years ago may not be relevant today. So if you're able to contrast and compare against what you were doing 2 years ago versus now, then you'll be able to essentially help also build like a perspective on what's important to migrate, what's not important to migrate. Because if 40% of what you're doing was not relevant and not being used and not relevant to the current version of your application, then it becomes obsolete at that point, right? So with TrueTest, you're able to do that, comparing that. The last aspect to it is, test coverage gaps. Being able to understand how much coverage do you think you have today versus what AI can actually provide you. What is the actual delta? You will be able to see that with the help of TrueTest, right? So there's 4 use cases I just wanted to highlight real quick. And I'll talk through how TrueTest works on a high level. We can always have deeper discussions with you guys. Go through architecture diagrams, answer AI review board, security board questions. I know it's not easy to get a new technology that actually goes and understands end user experience installed in your environments. So we are happy to do that as well. But just going through how TrueTest works, what we do is we capture the interactions with the application. We generate what we call as the user journey map. So if you were doing 1,000 transactions, we recently did a POC with a large e-com company and ran the TrueTest agent for about 8 hours. We were able to capture 22,000 flows within a span of 8 hours. Which is pretty insane. Think about it, 22,000 unique flows of users using different paths within the application, and essentially going through and searching a product or going through and checking out, go to the help page, could be multiple different aspects of it. So we were able to generate a full set of user journey maps for them. And then from that user journey map, based on the volume, TrueTest will analyze the volume and the impact of those user journeys, what is important from those set of user journeys, and generate the automation scripts from there. Getting from 0 to 80, like I said earlier, getting from 0 to 80 pretty quickly. And then you can understand the gap between what you did in testing and production, and have like a gap analysis from a coverage standpoint as well. So in a nutshell, that's what TrueTest does. There's a lot many more use cases. We can talk more deeply if we need to. We've, like I said earlier, we've captured about 20 million plus user sessions so far, 100K plus unique flows that are identified across multiple different applications. We personally do an ROI session with every single client that we interact with. We build a personalized ROI savings calculator, so you are better positioned to go to your leadership and ask for budgeting and approvals and things of that nature. We help you with that, right? And we like to show it's not just a show and tell technology. It's about proving to you the actual value. And we know that in today's day and age, people are looking for real results, and it's not just a few slides that we are going to show you and not real value. I think ultimately that's where we would shine, is kind of show you that immediate impact from an ROI standpoint.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gokul. That was a fantastic, crisp overview of what we should expect from TrueTest. And while I'll open the forum for the Q&A for the broader audience, Shila, how would you take on what TrueTest does, right? Or how TrueTest is structured that we just saw? let's say in view of some of your banking or large insurance customer who have been expecting an ROI on the investments, right? Who are already making the investments, they are waiting the ROI, right? How do you see that speed of, the first 80% of quantum jump in the way we test the scenarios? It's getting a jump through TrueTest. How will they absorb it, or what do you see coming as a counter questions from them around this? Your thoughts around.
I would say counter questions, yes, there might be counter questions in terms of unless you do it and see it, there are going to be kind of certain apprehensions any new technology does provide. But I think Gokul also answered that fact indirectly, which I'll try to make it very explicit out here. Now, one of the many areas that any of us who is in this webinar will talk about, that we talk, it's a myth, or it's a kind of a north pole that everybody talks in quality, is in terms of, okay, what percentage coverage do you have? Now, how do you define what is 100%? Now, that's a very open question. Now, your 100% will be different than my 100%.
Yeah.
Now, what Gokul was talking about, if the platform was able to go through the history of the usage of the target AUT, I would say, the targeted application, come up with 22,000 unique journeys. Now, if I can run it over a period of time, and if you have 22 unique journeys, I don't think any applications we would be able to create 22,000 unique journeys and say, okay, this is my 100%. Now, you may want to run across 22,000 journeys and create a huge, big suite to run it. But you may also want to understand what is my Pareto and pick and choose what you want to where really it makes sense. But that's a decisions, like I was just telling at the start itself. Where do you want to put yourself? Like, humans have to evolve, has evolved to a higher order things, where you decide what is the right risk matrix that you want to do it. Do I want to go 100%? Of course you can. If you want to release in the next hour, maybe not. If you want to release maybe tomorrow, day after, why not?
Absolutely.
Those kind of capabilities and abilities is something that this platform provides, which I don't think there are many more options we have right now.
And I think to your point, Sheena, it's a great point, right? And you have to become the decision maker. You move away from being the doer to the reviewer. I think that's a great statement that he made in the beginning of it, right? It just relates back to it. How do you go think about the higher level order? If there were 22,000 flows that were generated, what is important? What's based on my domain experience that I've built over the years, what is really critical for that specific type of application? That's something that's really important.
Correct.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
There's few
I think we are-
questions to you,
Yeah.
and I think maybe we can handle those questions real quick. I see
Let's do
some
that.
really good, exciting questions there. Firstly, I'll just go from the last. I think, does this work for TrueTest work for web or API or mobile? The answer is it works for web applications today.
Yeah.
The evolution to this is there's going to be a mobile offering sometime soon. We are working on it still, but we believe that 80% of the market is web for now. So we are going to focus on web for the upcoming 2 or 3 quarters just to get market traction. But we are working on mobile and API. In fact, we are actually working with QK to build our next gen API platform as well, which is something that we'll be releasing pretty soon, right? So thank you for that question. I think there was another question around, thank you for the insights on AI-based tests. How do you control the number of integrations and third-party application vendors? This is a pretty interesting question that I get pretty frequently. It's not a single page application that you're testing, right? A lot of times you would have to interact with third-party apps. There is API calls that are being made. It's an evolution to our technology, right? For now, what we do is work on applications where even if your third-party application is there, if you can install a TrueTest agent there, then you will be able to capture the entire journey. But eventually, we are getting to a point where we don't have the dependency, and that's a technology advancement that we'll be working on. There was security pen tests and performance type testing. It's not an area of focus today, maybe in the future, but not right now. TrueTest is use case specific or generic. I'm not sure what the question you meant. I don't know, Sheila, if you're able to get that, maybe you can take a stab at it.
I can take a stab at it, but I'm also not sure. But if it is use case very specific to any specific domain, I would say no. In that context, it is generic. If it isn't, if the use case is whether it's kind of specifically supposed to do security, performance, and all those things, in that context, it is specifics.
Okay.
So
Yeah, so I think a little bit more context to this, right? So when you observe an application, we will need the customer's domain experience in order to understand the application. There is a level of contextual understanding that we all need to have baseline, right? To see if what TrueTest is actually generating from those applications are actually relevant for your business or not. So that's really important. And then secondly, the how do I extract intelligence? I think that's the core of the product. Come sign up. We talk through it. I'm happy to walk you through deeper demos and talk through deeper architectural conversations as well. What tools can be used to test Gen AI projects where we are generating some document via LLM and we need to verify the content quality? I mean, this is exactly where the market is going to go towards. There's not a lot of tools that exist today in the market for doing this. QK and Katalon are already working on prototypes. We are starting to launch some initial POCs with our internal teams, but that is exactly where maybe in the next 6 months to a year you will see a lot more advancements that are happening. And then I think that's about it from the questions, whatever I could see.
I think most of them. Yeah. Some are comments, and really happy to see that the comments that came earlier in the webinar got addressed when we took the expectations from the TrueTest, right? So I think partly those stand answered, right? But I think excellent, right? I think what we covered gets proved by that, around 90 people still holding out a webinar, and though we have extended our committed time for the audience, right? But thank you so much, Sheila. Thank you so much, Gokul. And a special thank you to the entire audience, right? I think both the leaders spoke about things that will shape up in 6 months or a year. I'm pretty sure that this audience will collaborate again. Let's tune in again in a 45 days to 60-day time frame. I'm pretty sure that we will have a lot of incremental updates, both from the industry demand, both what TrueTest will offer to those demands, right? How we will take those to demands. So, but with that, thank you, everyone. Thanks once again. Thank you, Gokul. Thanks, Sheila. Thanks, everyone who has put this together. Thank you so much for your time.
thanks everyone for joining in.
Thank you.